Yeah, it says recording is
Avtar
started.
Meher Baba Ki Jai.
Avatar Mein Baba ki Jai.
Please start the universal prayer, Ashokji.
I can't see the screen.
Oh, yes. Apologies.
Avatar Meher Baba ki Jai. Universal prayer. O Parvardigar, the preserver and protector of all, you are without beginning and without end, non-dual, beyond comparison, and none can measure you. You are without color, without expression, without form, and without attributes. You are unlimited and unfathomable, beyond imagination and conception, eternal and
And
imperishable. You are indivisible and none can see you, but with eyes divine, you always were, you always are, and you always will be. You are everywhere, you are in everything, and you are also beyond everywhere and beyond everything. You are in the firmament and in the depths. You are manifest and unmanifest on all planes and beyond all planes. You are in the three worlds and beyond three worlds. You are imperceptible and independent. You are the creator, the Lord of Lords, the knower of all minds and hearts. You are omnipotent and omnipresent. Your knowledge infinite, power infinite, space infinite. You are the ocean of knowledge, all knowing, infinitely knowing, the knower of the past, the present, and the future, and you are knowledge itself. You are all merciful and eternally benevolent. You are the soul of souls, the one with infinite attributes. You are the trinity of truth, knowledge, and bliss. You are the source of truth, the ocean of love. You are the ancient one, the highest of the high. You are Prabhu and Parmeshwar. You are the beyond God and the beyond God also. You are Parabrahma, Allah, Ilahi, Yazdan, Ahmad, and God the Beloved. You are named Isa, the only one worthy of worship.
Avatar Meher Baba Ki Jai, the prayer of repentance. We repent, O God, most merciful, for all our sins, for every thought that was false or unjust or unclean, for every word spoken that ought not to have been spoken, for every deed done that ought not to have been done. We repent for every deed and word and thought inspired by selfishness, and for every deed and word and thought inspired by hatred. We repent especially for every lustful thought and every lustful action, for every lie, for all hypocrisy, for every promise given but not fulfilled, and for all slander and backbiting. Most especially also, we repent for every action that brought ruins to others, for every word and deed that has given others pain, and for every wish that pain should befall others. In your unbounded mercy, we ask you to forgive us, O God, for all these sins committed by us, and to forgive us for our constant failure to think and speak and act according to your will.
beloved God, help us all to love you more and more, and still yet more, till we become worthy of union with you, and help us all to hold fast to Baba's Daman till the very end. Avtar Meher Baba Ki Jai. Avtar Meher Baba Ki Jai. Avtar Meher Baba Ki Jai. Hey, so after a little bit of a hiccup, we are off to the races. So, any points Anything that came up since our last discussion on God Speaks? By the way, yesterday in our reading, we came across a Sufi term for the fifth planers. Baba says they are Mard-e-Khuda. So I wanted to do it yesterday. We can do it now. It's not on Lud. So I checked if there is a reference to that in Lud in the fifth plane. There's nothing. So just FYI, just so that you're aware of that. Okay. So I think the last time we were talking, it's a pity the dhars are not here because we were discussing something that we spent quite some time on, and we've cleaned it up now. So can you see the screen? Can you see the screen now?
Yes.
Yeah, so we basically cleaned it up so that it doesn't look like a gradation. It is a gradation of sorts, but then rather than gradation, it's greater than or lesser than, right? That's the more specific one, right? So we thought this is a better way of representing it, and we swapped uh, intelligent action and intelligent inaction. But most importantly, we are going to give the numbers more importance, and that's because it's easier to uh, track and remember, right? So what do I mean by that? Let's go to these courses.
Why the arrows are reversed
What is that?
here? Why the arrows are reversed here?
No, it's
One is
greater than, lesser than. It's not arrow. I think we should denote that. Good question. But I should denote that. Right. So it's the greater than, lesser than symbol. You know what I mean? Okay. So what we did, when I say we, it's Kama and I. So what we did is basically put the numbers here so that when somebody reads at leisure and has this slide along with them, it makes sense after 2, 3 reads. Are you able to see the numbers?
yes, yes.
Yeah. So just wanted to share that. So it's on the discourses public copy, right? Okay. So with that out of the way, let's dive in to start our session. We are in the fag end of part 8, and we finished reference 32, rather the supplement 32, and then we are continuing from there. I think there's a couple of pages and then we go to part 9. Let's get started. Avatar Meher Baba Ki Jai. So it's the page is 150, last paragraph. It must be noted that all of the 56 God-realized ones may be called perfect ones. But all of these 56 perfect ones are not all perfect masters, although all 56 experience the same experience of the eternal reality without the least difference of experience whatsoever. And although all the 56 are one in consciousness of the ultimate goal, big R reality, perfect in all respects and God realized, yet there is a difference in their function. Therefore, the term for the 56 God realized ones may be perfect ones, but not perfect masters or sadgurus or kutubs. So here the distinction is between those that are God realized, who surely and firmly, as outlined by Baba, qualify for use of the word perfect or perfection with their status. But they are not perfect masters. Function differs, and the function ensures that Only five are perfect masters. The rest can be called perfect ones. Out of the 56 perfect ones, or Shiv Atmas in human form, there are always at all times, in all ages, five perfect masters or Sadgurus or Kutubs. And these five control the affairs of the whole universe. When the age is not of the avataric period, these five perfect masters conjointly look to the affairs of the universe. And the one from amongst the five perfect masters who is responsible for the control of all the affairs of the whole universe is called by the Sufis Qutb-e-Irshad. But when the age is of the avataric period at the end of every cycle, the avatar, ancient one, highest of the high, the independent big R reality, infinite consciousness of the beyond state of God, is made to manifest in an illusion directly on earth through a male human being. I'll pause and repeat the line, and then there's a footnote. We will get to that later. It's about the cycle. But when the age is of the avataric period, at the end of every cycle, so there are three equivalences, I should say, four equivalences made here. The avatar equal to ancient one, equal to the highest of the high, equal to the independent bigger reality, equal to, and when I say equal to, also known as or whatever, right? Equal to infinite consciousness of the beyond state of God. That entity, that which has these five equivalents, is made to manifest in illusion directly on the earth through a male human being. This manifestation of infinite consciousness of the beyond state of God through a male human form on earth is commonly called, in quotes, the direct descent of God on earth, end quotes. In human form, in human form. This descent of God on earth is generally known as the, in quotes, avatar. Okay, now let's see cycle. Actually, for that, I want to underline this. Right. Okay. All cycles of time in illusion end and begin after 700 to 1400 years. And there have been and will be millions and billions of such cycles in a cycle of cycles. Thus, there is no end to illusion, which always remains illusion. There is no end to big I illusion, which always remains small I illusion, verb or adjective, illusory. Okay. We get back. Hence, it is obvious that when the age is of the avataric period and when the avatar or the reality or the God consciousness of the beyond state of God is made to manifest into illusion on the earth by giving this big R reality a human form to be made presentable to the humanity of the world, this avatar or this God man must necessarily be other than the 56 God realized ones. So there is also a logic that A, it's infinite consciousness in the state of beyond. He is in the beyond state of God. So he necessarily needs to be someone other because he has not gone through the process, right? And the count goes up. So it's above 56. That's the point here. Then the then existing and functioning five perfect masters at the appropriate time of the avataric period, individually and conjointly, bring about the advent of the avatar. There is a supplement, we'll go to that. An exercise and exercising their infinite mercy and love for all in ignorance, living the illusory life in big C creation, use their infinite power and grace to precipitate this advent and make manifest the infinite big R reality of the eternal, infinite God consciousness in the beyond state onto this earth into illusion. And they bestow through their infinite power, knowledge, and bliss onto the big R reality a most suitable cloak of illusion in the shape of a human male form, so that the divinity of the big R reality may be made most presentable in the world of illusion. So, this explains in very, very mechanical terms what happens when the avatar descents. The avatar's descent is pre-decided, and that is the timing is 700 to 1400 years. A male form is chosen, let's say, is nominated, is picked up, and because we need a presentable form to bring in the big I reality into a sense of physical limitation, right? It's only a sense of physical limitation. Okay, so let's go to the supplement. Any thoughts before, any comments before I continue?
It is said that it is at the end of the cycle.
Correct. So a cycle referring to 700 to 1400. At the end of each,
Cycle.
there is a descent, which is what we have learned. Anyway, let's see what Advent of God as Avatar will tell us in the supplement. The universe has come out of God. God has not come out of the universe. Illusion has come out, big I illusion has come out of big R reality. Big R reality has not come out of big I illusion. God alone is real. The universe by itself is illusion. God's life lived in illusion, big I, as the avatar and as perfect master is not illusory. Whereas God's life lived in creation as all animate and inanimate beings is both real and illusory. Illusion, illusory life, and God's life in illusion, big I, are not and cannot be one and the same. So there's one little subtlety that is pointed out. God's life lived in creation as all animate and inanimate beings is both real and illusory. Hold on to that. Let's see if that is explained. I read the very next line again. Illusion, illusory life, and God's life in big I illusion are not and cannot be one and the same. Illusion has no life and can have no life. Illusion is illusion and is nothing by itself. Illusory life means life in illusion, with illusion, surrounded by illusion, and though it is life as experienced by the soul in creation, it is illusory life. But God's life lived in illusion is not illusory, because in spite of living the illusory life, God remains conscious of his own reality. So the three things here are illusion, illusory life, God's life in illusion. So the first two are totally illusory. The third remains real because it's he is in constant awareness and operating at the realm of infinite power, knowledge, and bliss. Continuing. God is absolutely independent, and the universe is entirely dependent upon God. Yet, when the perfect masters effect the descent of God on earth as the avatar, they make reality and illusion interdependent, each upon the other. And thus, it is that His infinite mercy and unbounded love are eternally drawn upon by those who are immersed in big eye illusion. So, what is the switch that is happening here? God is absolutely independent, and the universe is entirely dependent upon God. But when the cycle ends and the perfect masters effect the descent of God on earth as the avatar, they make reality and illusion interdependent. So, any idea what that means?
Does it mean that authoric period, everything depends on the avatar's dictate, and he can they influence in a large measure what happens and what doesn't happen in that period.
In a more direct and involved and immediate and personal manner than ever, because anyway, that's the reality, right? So the dependence or the remoteness goes away, and then it's almost like it's happening really. I mean, it's happening with a lot more proximity and immediacy. Does that make sense?
I think so.
Yeah. Okay.
Jay Baba, it would refer to the grace of the perfect master.
Yeah, it's expressed through grace because he's specifically saying infinite mercy and unbounded love. And I think, see, the other thing Baba has said many times is the accessibility, the reach, the ability to contact and stay in touch with the avatar, that is, forget avatar, in touch with God, is highest in an avataric cycle. And that's what the second part of this paragraph says, right? So, in his infinite mercy and unbounded love, he is eternally drawn upon by those who are immersed in illusion. So, there is a more higher chance for everybody, which is the objective of the Advent as well. That's expressed through compassion and mercy and received as grace.
Yes.
Right?
And does it hold good for the 100 years after his?
Yes, that was the question I had as well. I would believe so, though
No,
it's
I
not
didn't get
explicitly
what
mentioned
it
here.
was. Ashok's idea. I didn't get it.
No, Ashokji is just saying, is this uh, grace? Is this what availability of grace is? Is the avataric period availability of grace? Yes, grace is an expression of that infinite mercy and unbounded love. And the second follow-up question is this available just during the avatar being in form and in body, or the 100-year period that Baba keeps referring to? I would believe it's the 100-year period, but though it's not explicit here.
Yeah. How I look at it is, say, in the period of this, say, 700 to 1400 years, uh, after the say 100 years, the influence of the avatar, after he gives up the body, uh, that period, the whole of humanity is on their own. So they either go through towards the reality in the spiritual path, or they don't do that. So they are immersed in the activities of the creation. So not having a direction. So that direction lasts in the 700 to 1400 years is revived when the avatar comes into this illusion to give a direction to those say seekers. So and also in general to the whole of creation. So this seekers getting the direction is the sort of grace. And beyond that, he has the benevolence on all the creation in a general way. That's how I look at it. So grace becomes soul directed as per the craving mostly. Deva.
Okay. And the 100 years? Do you think it's 100 years or only?
No, the period of his life and also the 100 years, so that grace is very much available for the seeker.
Okay. I think we are all in sync. Let's continue. Between God and the universe, infinite mercy and unbounded love act as a prominent link which is eternally made use by men who become God, Sadgurus, perfect masters, or Kutubs, and by God who becomes man, Avatar, Christ, or Rasul. And so the universe becomes the eternal playmate of God. Through this prominent link, the Avatar not only established life in his divine play, but also established law in illusion. And this law, being established by the God man or Avatar, is the law of the lawless infinite and is eternally real and at the same time illusory. It is this law that governs the universe, all its ups and downs. Construction and devastation are guided by this law. At the cyclic period, God's independent absoluteness is made to work upon this law by the God man as God's will. And this means that anything and everything that the avatar wills is ordained by God. Okay, so what's the law? So is it all the laws in the spiritual hierarchy which operate, or is it a new law? What is the law?
And read once again.
Sure, I'll read the last paragraph again. Between God and the universe, infinite mercy and unbounded love act as a prominent link which is eternally made use of by men who become God, Sadgurus, perfect masters, or Kutubs, and by God who becomes man, Avatar, Christ, or Rasul. And so the universe becomes the eternal playmate of God. Through this prominent link, the Avatar not only established life in his divine play, but also established law in Big Eye illusion. And this law, being established by the God man or Avatar, is the law of the lawless infinite and is eternally real and at the same time illusory. It is this law that governs the universe, all its ups and downs. Construction and devastation are guided by this law. So this law, I'm reading the last line again, and this law being established by the God man or avatar is the law of the lawless infinite. So he uses the word lawless to describe God, infinite, right? And it is eternally real and at the same time illusory. It is this law that governs the universe, all its ups and downs. Construction and devastation are guided by this law. So I would think it's the hierarchy of laws, the spiritual panorama, the chapter we already read. We'll just leaf through it now. But basically, it's the combination of all the laws operating which control the universe, generally and totally called as law here. But what's interesting is he uses the tag lawless describe uh, to describe law. Yeah, you're saying something,
Chema, uh,
Ashok, please.
yeah, would it refer to the laws of creation, preservation, and destruction? Am I audible? So,
Yes, yes. But
Hello. Yeah, sorry. Can you repeat your point, please?
I'm just saying, would it refer to the laws of creation, laws of preservation, and laws of destruction?
Yeah, that's one of. Yeah, that's a good point. Maybe it's just that, but I would think that he's referring to the whole of the the lawless infinite, referring to something that is so powerful that cannot be limited by anything, but that also has some rhyme and reason and some logic and some laws operating there. And that I believe is what I've brought up on screen, which is a chapter called Supervening Orders in the Spiritual Panorama. And then here he actually uh, defines the hierarchy of laws, in which grace is on the topmost, but then the basic laws of karma are below, right? So basically, the nature operates on this principle of the spiritual panorama. So this is what came to mind to me.
It might be worth reading this.
Yeah, we can read it as well. It's a small chapter. Let's do that. Okay, but before that, let me finish the supplement with the last idea. The last idea that's referred to here is he's making a distinction between avatar and God and says that whatever the avatar does during his advent is God's will. It's ordained by God, right? So that's the last idea. So now let's go back
you
to.
can read that last paragraph.
Oh, okay, sure.
This
Yeah.
cyclic period.
At the cyclic period, God's independent absoluteness is made to work upon this law by the God man as God's will. And this means that anything and everything that the avatar wills is ordained by God. So
So
the key,
here 2 points are clear. God and avatar distinction is made out, and
yes,
God's will is made into effective at that period, cyclic period, by the avatar's
presence.
intervention. So we have a new direction given by avatar. Every avatar gives a new direction for that time and age uh, to look at things in a different way and then progress ahead with that positive effect given by avatar. And the
Agree.
intervening period, things happen as per. So I think in that beings chapter, we will have a clarity between the law of karma
Operation.
and grace.
Correct. So the operation of these laws will get clearer there.
Yes.
So let's go there. Okay, it's page 33, supervening orders in the spiritual panorama. The mystery of the universe is hierarchic in structure. There are graded orders, one supervening upon the other. The spiritual panorama of the universe reveals itself as a gradient with laws upon laws. Superimposition of one type of law over the other implies elasticity and resilience of lower laws for the working out of higher superseding laws. Instead of lawlessness, it means a regime of graded laws adjusted with each other in such a manner that they all subserve the supreme purpose of God, the Creator. The lower laws are subsumed under the higher laws. We have first the law of cause and effect reigning supreme in nature. Such natural laws seem to be mechanical, rigid, and inexorable. But by acting and interacting with life force, they lead to higher laws of sanskaric or impressional determination and become superseded by them. Impressional determinism is not an exception to causal laws, but is their finer and higher form. It supervenes upon mechanical causal laws. So gravity is a causal law. Impressional reaction caused to a person is slightly higher than that, but that is also in the impressional determinism is also cause and effect. What is determinism? Determinism is there is a effect that is predictable, right? So impression, a prediction that can be made based on impression is impressional determinism, and that is nothing but causal laws again in a broader way, right? So the more physical and naturally appearing causal laws become in the to the nature of causal determinism as the consciousness of the soul goes up through evolution. Gravity and the rock experiencing gravity is also actually impressional determinism. We have understood that, but science today sees it as pure cause and effect. If I can be blunt, right? Let's continue. Let us take an example to illustrate the functioning of supervening orders in the spiritual panorama. The days of every incarnate soul in the cross world and what they bring are both definitely determined by the accumulated impression of past lives. But this impressional determinism does not work itself out independently of or in defiance of ordinary causal laws. On the contrary, it works through established causal laws. For example, wrong diet or gluttony or any other disregard for natural physiological laws will definitely affect the duration of the life term in the gross body. In the same way, intelligent use of known laws will affect happenings during this term of life. But whether or not there is going to be a disregard of such laws on the part of some particular soul is itself impressionally determined. So if you're a glutton, that could be an impressional determinism, but that is represented and manifested itself as the body response that comes from gluttony, right? That's, I think, very clear. That is, it is dependent upon his gathered dispositions. That is nothing but impressions. Thus, physiological and other causal laws are subsumed by higher karmic laws and lend themselves as pliant fabric work for them. The law of karma supersedes and uses the other laws of nature without violating them. Nor are the natural laws in any way violated by what are called miracles. No miracle is an exception to the existing laws of the universe. On the other hand, it is an overt result of the impersonal working or conscious use of the established laws of the inner spheres. It is called a miracle because it cannot be explained by the known laws of the gross world. Here, known laws are superimposed by unknown laws. It is not a case of chaos or lawlessness. There are many examples of miracles. Giving sight to the blind and kindred achievements are brought under the category of miracles. They do not set aside the laws of the universe, but are the expressions of laws and forces unknown and inaccessible to most human beings. There are some persons who, through the use of their supernatural powers, can keep their bodies alive for hundreds of years, although they are not necessarily spiritually advanced. In the same way, the lingering aura of a saint may work miracles from his burial place. The scope of miracles is very wide. Even the animal world is not exempt from the possibility of miracles. Though mammals, such as porpoises and other animals, do not have a fully developed subtle body, there is in the subtle world an equivalent or counterpart of their gross forms. The rudimentary subtle matrix, which has yet to develop into a definite and functionally self-sufficient subtle form, can still serve some purposes and become a medium for performance of miracles. So, what is a porpoise? Let's see. Small toothed whale with a low triangular dorsal fin and a blunt, rounded snout. May make sense for us to quickly see it. And the reason I'm curious is there is a reference to the subtle world and the subtle body of the porpoise. So it's very much like a whale. Okay, so snout, triangular fin, and yeah, here it is. Okay, so that's just to give you an idea of what it looks like. Now let's get back to the book. I'll read only that part. Though mammals such as porpoises and other animals do not have a fully developed subtle body, there is in the subtle world an equivalent or counterpart of their gross forms. The rudimentary subtle matrix, which has yet to develop into a definite and functionally self-sufficient subtle form, can still serve some purposes and become a medium for performance of miracles. Stories of sorcerers who caused schools of porpoises to come from the open sea to shore for a native feast are within the bounds of probability. But all this realm of the supernatural, occult, miraculous, and magic, black or white, must be regarded as having no spiritual value in itself. Occult phenomena like stigmata, telekinesis, affecting the flight of objects such as a communion wafer through the air, elongation, elevation, etc., may amuse, astound, or overpower people, but they cannot bring about spiritual healing or uplift, which is the real thing that matters. They are just an illustration of the supersession of ordinary and known laws of nature by the supernatural and unknown laws of the inner spheres. The curious might very well occupy their minds with these things, but they are best relegated to the background as insignificant. The real lover of truth passes by these things without becoming entangled with any of them. He cannot afford to be distracted or diverted from his real objective, namely attaining union with God and releasing the radiance of his purity and love. There was one word, there's some words. Telekinesis is movement of objects in space. Stigmata, let me just look it up. I remember we looked it up before. A mark of disgrace associated with Christian tradition. Marks corresponding to those left on Jesus's body by the crucifixion, said to said to have been impressed by divine favor on the bodies of Saint Francis of Assisi and others. So it's basically it means mark made by pricking or branding. Okay, so it's basically one person's suffering represented on another person, spiritually advanced, both of them. In this case, it was Christ and Francis of Assisi. Okay. Just an illustration of the superstition. Yeah, let's continue. The apparent anomaly of miracles does not constitute the violation of known natural laws, but means only their supersession by other unknown laws. It also does not mean violation of the higher karmic laws which supervene upon natural as well as supernatural laws. However, among the supervening orders in the spiritual panorama, there is one important factor which transcends and controls all laws, including the supernatural laws and the laws of karma. That factor is divine grace, which is beyond all laws. God forgives sins in the sense that he does not eternally damn anyone for his sins. He keeps the door of redemption eternally open. Through repeated sincere prayers, it is possible to effect an exit from the otherwise inexorable working out of the law of karma. The forgiveness asked from God evokes from him his inscrutable grace, which alone can give new direction to the inexorable karmic determination. The only miracle which is worthy of the name is the divine grace that knows no fetters and that can control the entire universe with all of its laws. It is the last supervening factor in the graded orders which obtain in the spiritual panorama. Divine grace is not concerned with phenomena. It is concerned with the emancipation and spiritual fulfillment of souls. Here, an interesting question is, does God work miracles in the narrower sense of operating the hidden laws of the inner spheres? The answer is God does everything and at the same time does nothing. He leaves everything to the natural and supernatural forces prevalent in the universe. Right? So this is a nice one. So the laws, I mean, now you understand what the laws are and what is lawless but law. Although God does nothing by way of small miracles, the entire universe which has emanated from him is the miracle of miracles. The more we ponder on anything in the universe, even the meanest of things, the more miraculous it appears to the human mind. And the universe, which includes an infinite number of such items, giving to each of them an indelible stamp of eternal significance, is an unquestionable miracle because it admits of 1,000 questions but offers no answer to the limited human intellect. So, having created the supreme miracle of the universe, God does not bother about performing further minor miracles within his universe, but leaves it to the reign of laws. However, this does not apply to the God man who may, if he deems it to be fit and necessary, perform numberless miracles in supervention of the normal routine working of the universe without attaching any especial importance to them. God does everything and, in another sense, does nothing. Although God does nothing, those who approach him with love and surrender derive everything that matters in the spiritual realm, even though he does not do anything in particular towards them. God may be compared to the sandalwood. It continually emits a sweet scent in all directions, though only those who take the trouble to go near it have the benefit of its charming fragrance. But we cannot say that the sandalwood has done anything in particular towards those who approach it, because emanation of the sweet scent is going on all the time and is not specifically directed towards any person or persons. It is available to each and all who care to come within its range. Thus, the sandalwood gives in one sense, and in another sense, it does not give. Take another example. The river gives water to those who are thirsty, in the sense that if thirsty persons approach the river and drink its waters, their thirst is quenched. But the river does nothing, either to invite them to itself or fill them with its waters. These examples show how God does everything, and at the same time, am I audible? Hello? Am I still audible?
Yes, yes, I
Oh,
can
okay.
hear you.
Yes, yes.
Okay. I'm sorry because my phone went off. These examples show how God does everything and at the same time does nothing. This naturally applies to the so-called miracles, which are minor happenings within the great miracle. Mind also can be called the great miracle of the universe, because it is out of the mind that the illusion of the universe arises. Mind is a parent miracle, yet the fulfillment of its destiny lies in self annihilation. It has not fulfilled its true purpose if it does not completely disappear. The temporary clay model often has to be destroyed in order to bring out a statue of permanent importance. The form of wooden planks is raised only to be replaced later by a slab of concrete, and the hen's egg has not fulfilled its destiny until it is broken from inside by the pecking of a hatching chicken. In the same way, the mind mold arises only in order that it may be shattered to pieces, and that its bursting may make possible the unfoldment of true and unlimited understanding, which is self sustained. Thus, the mind, which is the only parent miracle, thus, the mind, which is the parent miracle, comes into existence only in order to vanish. The vanishment of the mind means its stopping to function as mind. In its normal functioning, the mind sees, hears, and speaks, but it has to cease this functioning. It must not see, hear, or speak through impressional goadings as it is wont to do. When it succeeds in stopping its impressional functioning, it has vanished as mind and achieved the last miracle in its vanishment. The mind is a miracle in its origin, in its functional products, and last but not least, in its vanishment, which is the pinnacle of its miraculous tenor. But the mind cannot jump over itself. It cannot stop its own impressional functioning. It can only make a somersault and hold before itself presence a pretense of annihilation, as do snakes and scorpions, which often pretend to be dead as a last resort to save themselves. When the mind gets annihilated, it happens not through its own somersault or gymnastics, but by an act of divine grace. We can neither deny nor explain this divine grace, which transcends all of the graded orders together with all their laws in the spiritual panorama. With the wiping out of the mind, there is the wiping out of all minor and major miracles. This is the only miracle worthy of the name and which is spiritually necessary. All other miracles, despite their imposing gradations in the panorama, are like the evanescent waves which rise and fall on the surface of the ocean without being able to fathom its immeasurable depths. The miracle of wiping out the mind brings with it complete disappearance of all forms of manyness, the many divisions of which the mind makes too much and in which it becomes enmeshed are all within the domain of the illusion or the self-created objects of the mind. Within the domain of the objective world of imagination, there are differences. Example, between the cobra, the tiger, the man, etc. But they are not in the mind, which is the origin of this imagination. All separateness vanishes as soon as the mind, which is the creator of this separateness, comes to its termination through the act of divine grace. So Mononash needs divine grace. So anyway, I went through the second part without a star and without too much of discussion and uh, uh, slower reading because it's more about Mononash. But let's just come back to where we started. We started to understand what is lawlessness and what is laws. My proposal is the laws that are being referred to in the first half of this Beams chapter is the laws that are referred to in 33 supplement, the 33rd supplement, which is causal laws, karmic or impressional determinism, over which are miracles, and finally, divine grace. That's the hierarchy of four. What do the others think?
Yes, I want to hear Kama is he's got a lot of knowledge about the laws. He's quiet today.
Okay, so you're teasing him into talking, but let's see if he bites. Okay.
Dr. Kama.
As I see this, there is Okama is on. Okay, go ahead, Kama.
Was that a question? Because I'm in a bus, that's why.
No,
Oh,
we're talking about the laws and also
no, he
Manonash.
said he is in the bus. So he may not
Yeah.
be able to talk. I think.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, let me see
Okay.
if can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yes.
No, there's no
Okay.
question, just an invitation to comment. If you don't want to comment or if you have nothing to
No, sure,
comment,
sure.
it's
I
fine.
think
Yeah.
I have two comments. I think what I was listening to one of the divine laws. We know that starts with the law of divine grace and the law of karma, then the supernatural laws, and then the laws of matter, as we know that we are living in the gross world, the quantum laws and the Newton's laws. But I think Baba is also mentioning out here that because we have so many different life cycles, cycles of cycles, there can be other laws that will be can be derived by the master, by the avatar, depending on what cycle you're going through, and sometimes there needs to be some adjustment. But definitely, the law of divine grace is the highest. Underneath, all these laws play. Maybe in the gross world, the laws can change depending on how the avatar wants to play the game, depending on the situation. I think just like the way, for me, we have gone from the pre-industrial revolution, from an analytical, like agricultural, to post-industrial revolution, where we went to an analytical reasoning mind. Now this is the age of intuition. So, we are going from artificial intelligence to infinite intelligence. That is one thing. And the second thing is about the terminology on perfect ones, Shivatmas. So all 56 God realized souls are Shivatmas, but we know there is a word called perfection, and that perfection is oriented towards the Jivan Muktas and the Sadgurus, because they are in Sahaja Samadhi, and it is a higher form of divine consciousness. The reality is the same for all of the 56 God realized souls, which is God consciousness. But the body consciousness, you have different functions. Hence, the word perfection is related only to the Jivan Mukta and perfect masters. That's my understanding. Yeah, Baba.
Yeah, it's said in more a general way to cover all 56. But yeah, if we go into the definition, or more specifically, yes. So I have some food for thought on the beams supplement. Just some food for thought, as I said. So
You, I will help after you finish.
yeah, yeah. Please go ahead with your comment first. Mine is unrelated and less important.
Now, what I saw in the flow of this reading of beings and also the previous paragraph reading from God 6 is that the initial law is the law of the jungle as a sort of law that governs the evolution without any mind acting uh, willfully. So the development of different species happens, and also we get to the human species. So till that time, it is the law of the genes. So later on, this law of karma starts working. So the law of karma is slightly beyond the genes. It doesn't depend on the genes. So the example of, say, gluttony, uh, natural law is we any animal eats and then develops and then perishes later. But this gluttony or dieting is a conscious effort done by human after the knowledge available on dieting and other things like that. So that means there is a willful activity, and then this is the one phase from evolution towards evolution. So very rough and raw examples that I am giving here. And beyond that is this karmic law, is the cycle of this sort of a willful reasoned activity piling up its reaction on the soul over period. So either positive or negative activity leads to this backlog of karmic baggage that keeps working on the soul life after life. And the
Yeah,
changes that are made in this particular aspect with learning leads you to the say the next phase, that is the involution phase. So there we are becoming aware of this baggage and try to reduce the load or ultimately remove the total load. So that is how these things work. So the basic law is always working on the gross body.
yeah,
But beyond that, in the involution process, we remove this backlog of all the piled up karma and then become free of that. And total freeness comes with the loss of mind itself, mano. So
yes,
that is
absolutely.
the sequence here. And this is helped by grace of the God, grace of God.
Finally,
So the grace is,
Manonash needs grace of God.
uh, so grace is always uh, available for catching. So it is not directly selected to a few and given to them as a feeding, but it is available to pick up. So that
Sandalwood.
effort we have to do to get the grace of God. So that is made clear here. So
Oh,
God or
summary.
the avatar doesn't feed anybody directly, selectively, but he is bestowing that on the whole uh, cosmos. But who picks it up depends on his hierarchical development. That's how I saw this.
Beautiful summary. Beautiful summary. My minor comment actually was subsumed by you. But before that, I think the key thing here is the subsumption or superimposition of the laws. So to go back again to that gluttony example, so the DNA of that gluttonous person would suggest a tendency for gluttony. And how is that created? That's 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 so that his impressional determinism of gluttony is achieved in that birth. So your framework, your framework of DNA is represented in, I mean, this my theory is actually enabling your impressional determinism in each birth. So even in the reincarnation phase where you have so many human births, I want to experience being a mine worker in doing physical work, right? So I need the DNA to support that. So I'm born as a black in Africa who does mine work, who's very strong. And how is that achieved? The framework provided to me is that gene pool, the selection of the gene pool, which gives me access to that, right? So in that sense, but then all of this can be superimposed and uh, overruled, let's say, simpler word, overruled, right? So if you go to high court, there is a order passed, but you can go to the Supreme Court and get that reversed. Over that Supreme Court, you have the presidential pardon, right? So even somebody who is banished by or convicted by Supreme Court in certain conditions, whatever they may be, in the same way as the avatar's grace, you may get presidential pardon. So the superimposition refers to the invalidation of lower laws in the operation of the higher law. So you can undo the lower laws or overpower the lower laws with the higher laws. That's the big takeaway in this whole chapter. So, and the highest law is divine grace. So get that, and that you beautifully summarized, and which is important. Manonash needs grace, and grace is available. It's up to you to go get it. Beautiful. I think it was very nice reading. Okay, let's get back to the page 152, second paragraph. That's where we are continuing from. Thus, when infinite reality, that is God, manifests on earth in the form of a man and reveals his divinity to mankind, he is recognized as the avatar, the Messiah, the prophet. God thus becomes man. In this manner, infinite God, age after age, throughout all cycles, wills through his infinite mercy to effect his presence amidst mankind by stooping down to human levels in human form. But his physical presence amidst mankind not being apprehended, he is looked upon as an ordinary man of the world. When, however, he asserts his divinity on earth by proclaiming himself the avatar of the age, he is worshipped by some who accept him as God and glorified by a few who know him as God on earth. But it invariably falls to the lot of the rest of humanity to condemn him while he is physically in their midst. Thus,
No, that three distinctions are very nice. You can repeat that.
yeah, he asserts his divinity on earth by proclaiming himself the avatar of the age. He is worshipped by some who accept him as God and
It is
glorified by
acceptance.
few.
It is not it is a seal of acceptance. Okay, next.
Correct. His seal of acceptance, and then he's in return, they worship him with that acceptance and glorified by a few who know him as God. So here, this is Jnana Yoga. Okay, so they with the knowledge and with the discretion, they are able to determine he is God, and then they glorify, they spread his word, and they sing his glory. But it invariably falls to the lot of the rest of humanity to condemn him while he is physically in their midst. Thus, it is that God as man, proclaiming himself as the avatar, suffers himself to be persecuted and tortured, to be humiliated and condemned by humanity, for whose sake his infinite love has made him stoop so low, in order that humanity, by the very act of condemning God's manifestation in the form of the avatar, should, however indirectly, assert the existence of God in his infinite eternal state of reality. The avatar is always one and the same because God is always one and the same. The eternal, indivisible, infinite one who manifests himself in the form of a man as the avatar, as the Messiah, as the prophet, as the Buddha, as the ancient one, the highest of the high. This eternally one and the same avatar is made to repeat his manifestation from time to time in different cycles, adopting different names and different forms in different places, to reveal truth in different garbs and different languages in order to raise humanity from the pit of ignorance and help free it from the bondage of delusions. There was a footnote for avatar is one and the same. Meher Baba was asked whether a perfect master, after leaving the body, ever comes back to earth. That is, does he ever take birth again? Baba replied, no, never. Only the avatar takes birth again and again. Okay. During the avataric period, the one from amongst the then living five perfect masters, who used to function as Kutub-e-Irshad, ceases to hold this divine office with the advent of the avatar and delivers his duty and charge of the sole responsibility for the affairs of the universe into the hands of the God man as soon as he is able to assume his office as the Christ, the avatar of the age, and remains himself as long as he is in a gross body, holding the same office of Kutub as the other four hold. In spite of the advent of the avatar, there must be 56 God realized ones in human form, and from amongst these 56, there must be the five perfect masters living on earth. When one from amongst these five perfect masters drops his physical body, the office is never left vacant. It is invariably filled by another living God realized one who has realized the eternal reality at the time. Hence, even when the avatar is on earth, there are 56 God realized ones, including the five perfect masters in human form, but the avatar becomes the sole authority. Okay, so that brings us to a close after months or months of reading for part 8. Okay, so any comments before we go to chart 7? Yeah,
Only thing
so
is the past few weeks have been quite intense, both in the artics and in the Saturday sessions also. They have
yes,
been
which is good.
so enriching.
Yes, yes. I hope we sustain this high level of momentum and high level of intensity for longer and longer. Jai Baba. Okay, let's. How much time do we have? Or maybe we can take this up next week and end a few minutes earlier because this is. By the way, I will also send out that 3-4 minute reference for this chart, uh, which is from Ward Parks. That helps. So you can read it listen to it over the course of the week, and then we take up part 7. This part next week. Okay, any other thoughts before we wrap up?
So, on a personal note, say after my retirement from the college, one thought which came to me very say forcefully was enough of these genes. I am getting out of this phase. That what was my thought at that time, and that is becoming very clear now. So I was immersed so much with only biology and genetics and uh, disease process. And I thought it is the only solution or the uh, healing law which dictates everything. So
Yeah,
at one point I said it is enough. It is not the total law, and got out of that. It is very much highlighted very clearly for me now. That's a personal note.
very interesting and very happy to note. Um, so, like we saw the operation of the lower law of genes and DNA, like we discussed earlier, the the chapter on beams is vicariously proof also for the efficacy and operation of astrology. Let me explain how.
So,
So, the, the DNA, yeah, and your determinism in the DNA is also a product of when and where you are born. So that is another parallel framework which operates, which is inescapable, which is inexorable, but will be consumed by a higher law. So, like Baba says, astrology has no role if you are in the grace of a master. It can be overruled, right? But for those who are not, that's the physical construct for determining your life. So genes, astrology, gravity, the basic laws, all of these are there. You cannot wish them away. They are scientifically there and they work. But there is something in the gradation, and the gradation decides everything. So,
overweening. Sorry.
exactly. So, I'm glad you made a big move from the lower laws to the higher laws, and may His grace continue to be on you and all of us as we make that journey personally as well. Okay, so on that note, we can wrap up on a few minutes early, which I think makes sense, and we'll catch up next week,
Yes.
Saturday first and then Sunday. Avatar Meher Baba ki Jai.